afternoon, everyone, and welcome to laughingplace.com Star Wars headlines for December 29th. This is our end of the year edition. My name is Rebekah Mosley, the co-founder of Laughing Place, and with me is Mike Celestino, our editorial director for all Star Wars content and West Coast correspondent. Hey, Mike, how are you this wonderful day, although here it's gloomy?
Good, doing good. Working on some end of the year videos today. Got the our top 23 things we are most excited for coming from Disney in 2023 video that will go up tomorrow at some point. But that's always a fun thing to put together.
Oh yeah, totally.
Everybody at Laughing Place gets to vote on it, and it's always interesting to see what ends up where. But I won't spoil the top 5 or anything. You'll find out tomorrow on laughingplace.com.
Thanks
May the
for
force be with you,
joining us, Charles. And as Mike says,
and Elena of Avalor.
Right? Yes, exactly. a little extra bonus there. I saw that. I know we've shared it yesterday on. What was the boys did something yesterday here on this YouTube, and so they got to talk about the Lodico Fendon figure that appeared under your tree.
So I should have brought it to show. Yeah,
I didn't think about.
It's in the other room.
Asking you.
Yeah, I should have brought. I did bring a different action figure to unbox though.
Oh, very cool.
So I got this for Christmas. It's the Figure and Dan, aka the Cantina Band action figure from Star Wars, the Black Series from Hasbro. So I already open the tape here, but I haven't taken it out of the box yet. So thought I would do that here. But yeah, it was very cool of those guys to include Lodico in the top 10 moments from 2022, because that was definitely one of my highlights. But there's Figure and Dan from the Cantina Band from the Modal Nodes. And he comes with a few of the instruments. Now there's another figure that you can get called Nolan Shiel, who's also in the Modal Nodes, and he comes with the other instruments. And then if you want to flesh out the whole Cantina Band, you just buy multiple copies of these guys because they're all pretty much identical. But this one does come with 3 of the. Oops. Hang on one second.
No worries.
I closed my window there.
I was trying to find the picture I had of your Lodico figure while you were doing this unboxing. So that was my sneakiness happening over here. So there we go, found it. Aha.
Okay, I know one of these is called the Clue Horn, but I'm not sure if I know which one it is. They all look kind of similar to me. But yeah, if you wanted to build out, I'll probably just stick with the 2 different ones. But if you wanted to build out however many members of the Modal Nodes there are, you just get multiple copies of this.
And as he gets a few of the accessories, check it out. This is what his amazing wife Tori picked up for him. He transformed the character that Mike had created for his Galactic Star Cruiser adventure into an action figure. But back to Mike and his unboxing.
Yeah, that was so cool. That was such a big surprise to see that Lodico in that kind of action figure form.
So there you go. The latest figure happening within the this you said Black Series?
Yeah, this is Hasbro's Black Series Figure and Dan.
Oh, by the way, just a little bit before we went on air, email hit my box I shared with Mike. They have a life-size figure of C-3PO coming. It's like on pre-order right now from Sideshow. 6'2" this thing has posable arms. I still can't get over this, Mike. I mean, and we were both talking about how it's like somewhat achievable. It isn't, like the same price as a house or something.
I was gonna guess like $15,000. It's only like, what do you say, $8,000?
Yeah, it's $8,500, and then they've already got C3PO out there. Yeah, see, this is what I'm saying, Gio. Exactly. It's it's extremely high end, but same price as a week of vacation for some people. So
Right.
I was like, okay. Yeah.
Sadly, I don't have the room. Definitely don't have the room, and don't have the money either. So if I were a different person with more space and cash, it would probably end up somewhere in my collection. But
And while we do have the usual array of comic reviews and other headlines, we thought we'd start off, Mike, talking a little bit 2022, right? Do a little bit of chit chat about what's happened in the past year.
yeah, I wanted to say, I yesterday I recorded a kind of year in review episode with the Skywalkers, our friends at Skywalking Through Neverland, and I think that'll be going up sometime today. But we touched on a lot of the fun Star Wars stuff that came out over the past year. A lot of it was on Disney Plus. We had the Book of Boba Fett, uh, Obi-Wan Kenobi, of course, Andor, which everybody seemed to react really well to, and Tales of the Jedi. But my biggest highlight was the Galactic Star Cruiser, which we kind of touched on already, and just what an amazing experience that was. And I know, it's another thing that's pretty expensive to go and do, but to me, it is an experience that you'll never forget if you do have the opportunity to go and board the Halcyon. There's
So much
Lotico with the
so
captain. Yeah.
so very fun. I mean, one of my favorite aspects of this is actually a screen grab from another vlogger, was because they had that media cruise while we were watching various vloggers, we got to play Spot Mike.
Yeah. Now, who's is this? Who's
I the name escapes me, but
okay?
it's the lady there beside the Tano jersey. It was
Okay,
it was their vlog, but then
got it.
the name escapes me in this moment. I didn't write it down. For me, I did not get to go to the Halcyon. My memories of this year are finally getting my hands on a Tamagotchi, which in this case was my little R2D2. And I am sad to inform you that he has since been absconded with by Jawas. That's what
Okay.
happens if you ignore him for too long. So
Yeah.
if you look at him right now, it's just a little sand crawler letting you know that poor R2 is locked away with the Jawas. So I need to
Speaking of ignoring the R2D2 Tamagotchi, I have, they sent me a copy, somebody did, to review, and it is literally buried somewhere in my office under piles of papers and books or something. I literally don't know where it is. So he's definitely in the Jawas collection. Yeah.
And then I also have become addicted to the Skywalker saga from Lego.
Yeah.
Those of you who've been following us here at Star Wars Headlines know I looked forward to this for a very long time because it was delayed and delayed, and it finally has been here throughout the year with various editions. And I've had so much fun exploring the Star Wars universe with this game, Mike.
I got to get back into it. So I played it to review the what was it called? The special edition.
The new
deluxe,
character downloads. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which came with all the DLC packs and all the Andor characters and everything, which was cool. And I think I went through the first two movies. I played through all of A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. But obviously that's only 2/9 of the game. But even within that, I didn't do most of the side quests and all the little hidden things you can find. So I feel like I've only really scratched the surface on that game. Unfortunately, for Christmas, I also got a PlayStation 5 and this Marvel game that I've really been looking forward to. And now I'm like waist deep in that and like addicted to that. So I don't know if I'll be, with my spare time, if I'll be going back to Lego Star Wars anytime soon, but I will find my way back there eventually.
And this year brought us the
Yeah.
Batuu Adventures. What did it meet your expectations, Mike, or are you hoping for, where did it land with you?
I think it's fun. I think it's a fun activity for families to do together. I think I've seen a lot of people doing it. I think kids get a kick out of it. For me personally, I think I do it once every time I go, and I'm good. Like I don't need to keep going back and getting more bounties. I don't really get that much out of it where I need to like. I know Benji the first day did all 20, just kind of to see what happens at the end. But for me, yeah, it's not. I don't know. It doesn't have enough to it for me to spend a whole lot of my visit playing the Batuu bounty hunters. But I'll do one. I'll do one every visit, and that'll be enough for me.
Okay. Okay. And also this year, I finally got to be on Batuu for Life Day. I know, Mike, you were over at Batuu West. I was on Batuu East. Batuu East, not quite as intense an experience as you all had over there at Batuu West. We did have a lovely lightsaber gathering, but you had even more fun.
It looks like a similar number of people, I
Yeah,
would say.
yeah,
Um,
it was. It was.
but yeah, the people who organize the one here in Anaheim, they really go all out. They write these parody Life Day carols that are to the tune of familiar holiday songs, and you sing along with those. There's a big gathering in front of the Millennium Falcon, and then even like Chewbacca and Rey, the actual characters in the land, got involved and took photos with the big group and everything. So it was pretty cool and good to see some people, other reporters and friends, Star Wars friends, there for Life Day. So yeah, it is a fun gathering. And now that you have the robes and everything that they're selling, which are really just snuggies, but everybody was using them as the robes. Um, it made it even more cool to be there.
And this year on Disney Plus, Mike, let's see, you mentioned earlier, we had Andor, we had Obi-Wan, we had Book of Boba Fett.
Hmm.
We didn't have any more Mandalorian adventures in this calendar year, right?
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
no
as far as
official.
like series, yeah.
Right, Mandalorian season 3 is coming up in March.
And then
Yeah.
we had Bad Batch as well, would have been within the Star Wars.
No, that was 2021.
Okay, okay, so it
So
was just
Bad
the
Batch
series.
skipped a year. It was going to come out in the fall, and then they pushed it to December, and then they pushed it to January, I think, or something like that. But um, yeah, starting next week, we'll have Bad Batch
Okay.
season 2.
So how would they fall? Before we
There was
get into
also
our headline.
Tales of the Jedi was the other one
That's the other one. I
that
knew there was
did
another
that
one.
did
Okay.
come out. My favorite of those was Andor. I think it's hard to argue that it wasn't like the most consistently um well put together Star Wars series of the year. I do think I liked Book of Boba Fett more than Obi-Wan, mostly because it fell within my area of interest when it comes to Star Wars a little bit more. Like I like the underworld, I like the bounty hunters. And I just loved seeing all those, they pulled from a lot of different sources to, there was a character, Black Chrysanthemum, the bounty hunter from the comic books. Um, got to see Boba Fett riding on the back of a Rancor, which is like, you never thought you'd see that in live action. So like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau always say, they're like playing with the action figures and having fun doing that. So I really enjoyed that. Obi-Wan Kenobi had its moments for me, but it wasn't my favorite. And then Tales of the Jedi, I enjoyed, especially the Count Dooku episodes. I really got a kick out of those.
Yeah, I agree. And you brought up a lot of kind of where my mind went when I started to think about the year. And that was that with Book of Boba Fett, we got to see characters come to the screen that we had,
Yeah,
previously seen on the page, like Black Chrysanthemum and or in the world of animation like Cad Bane. And so it was really cool to have those kind of realized in person, so to speak. And then with Obi-Wan, I adored the way that they were able to bring Leia without us knowing. That little surprise. And then
yeah,
what we learned about her was delightful. Very
yeah. I
much,
feel
very much
like
enjoyed that.
anytime they're able to surprise me, I'm so immersed in Star Wars that it's rare. I feel like I'm surprised. So anytime something happens without me knowing about it in advance, I'm always like, okay, well done. Did not see that coming, and that was definitely true with Leia in Obi-Wan. I got to be at the premiere of that at Star Wars Celebration, and yeah, the reaction in the room when they cut to Alderaan, and you're like, wait a minute, why are we on Alderaan? Are we going to see young Leia? And yeah, sure enough, it got a pretty big response in that room. And I think it was fun getting to spend time with her.
And speaking of Star Wars Celebration, I think out of all of the different Star Wars stuff that you got to do this year or arrived on your doorstep or whatever, I think the thing I was most jealous, the time I was most jealous that you were on site and I was in headquarters was during Star Wars Celebration, because I just was able to share some of what was available just online through their live, video feeds. And that was so much fun. And just the notion of how exciting it must have been to be there once again, shoulder to shoulder with fans and all the fun that comes with Star Wars Celebration. And then you add to that this amazing Mandalorian experience that you got to do. Like I say, this for me was one of the highlights of the year, and I only got to experience it through your lens.
Well, credit to Jeremiah, who I think is the one who actually shot our video and photos of that exhibit. I honestly didn't think I was going to get to go in, but on the last day, Sunday, I managed to get into that exhibit, and it literally brought tears to my eyes. And I was saying how remarkable it was that this is all stuff that has been created in the last few years. It's all new. I mean, it's all referencing and inspired by existing Star Wars stuff before that, but it's all new physical props that were made for The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. And it brought up so much emotion in me and reminded me of how, alive and thriving that the franchise really is, even now. So I was very glad to be able to get in there and see that. This is all footage Jeremiah took.
And I think that unfortunately for the expo, this presentation really got me excited for the expo that was just a few months later, and there wasn't quite the same level of presentation. I mean, I know that they were dealing with different franchises, but man, it's like a little museum to the current Star Wars, mythology. And it was fantastic. And,
so, I mean, it was the quality of a permanent exhibit, and it only existed for 4 days,
Amazing.
Like, I could see this being a permanent exhibit somewhere. And the fact that they only put it together and had it available for Star Wars Celebration is really something. And I think they were saying a lot of this stuff went immediately back to the set, like the cockpit of the Razor Crest. It was something that they went back and, I think, the Razor Crest would be destroyed at that point. But I'm sure some of this other stuff, I heard them saying that they were going to go back and use it immediately again in production. So it was so cool that they loaned it for that purpose of getting all the fans to be able to see it in person.
So with 2022 behind in the rearview mirror now, we're moving forward. We're gonna tell you what's been happening in the past week or so within the Star Wars galaxy, and then as we get towards the end today, we're gonna share with you what's on the horizon. But Mike, initially we're gonna be where you want to jump to first.
Well, I just wanted to mention that I did recently, starting in August, whenever I had a spare like half a day, I would watch a batch of 5 episodes of Star Wars Rebels, which I had seen all the way through once before, but I wanted to revisit this series in advance of Ahsoka, because that live action series is coming next year in 2023, and we kind of know already that it's going to have a lot of connections to Rebels. So I wanted to have that fresh in my mind, and for a secondary purpose of I want to do an episode of my Star Wars podcast, Who's the Bossk, about kind of a Rebels retrospective. So that will be coming up sometime in 2023. But for now, you can go and check out all my posts. Every time I watched 5 episodes, I would write my own little synopses of each episode, and those are all available on Laughing Place.
Okay, continuing on with what Mike's been up to around here, I know you have a couple of comic books that you have been able to share with readers. And this is a new title from the Star Wars High Republic.
Yeah, so there was actually a whopping 5 new comic books, new Star Wars comic books this week. And I was looking at the list of upcoming comics too, and it's just gonna be like this for months, where they're just gonna be like churning them out. And I do this as part of my job. I go and read all the new Star Wars comics and review them each on laughingplace.com. But I was thinking about like the casual fans out there. Are they able to keep up? Like, first of all, do people have time to read all these comics? And it can add up as far as like cost goes too. I know there's Marvel Unlimited or whatever. If you're willing to wait, they'll
Mm-hmm.
come to there eventually. But if you want to keep up to date on Star Wars comics, it's probably fairly expensive and time consuming. So I'm impressed if you're out there and not doing it like me for your job, and you are up to date. But yeah, this was my favorite comic of the week, of the 5 that came out. It's called Star Wars: The High Republic, The Blade, #1, written by Charles Soule, one of my current favorite Star Wars writers, and it is about a character named Porter Engle. He's a Jedi Master in Phase 1 of the High Republic, and now Phase 2 has rewound time about 150 years. So obviously he's a very long-lived alien species, but he's now 150 years younger. He's kind of in his prime, and we're following him on an adventure, and we get to see why they call him the Blade. First of all, he's an expert swordsman, and he definitely demonstrates that in the pages of this first issue. Really, really enjoyed this issue, the debut issue so far. I thought it was really well put together and entertaining, and the art was really nice. And looking forward to this. Is just a mini series. I think it's 4 or 5 issues, but
Okay.
definitely looking forward to reading the rest of that.
And if you are a Kindle user, they do have also some comic book options, and in some cases, they offer you 15% off the cover price. So be sure to check what's available over there through the Comixology. With Han Solo and Chewbacca #8. Oh, hey, it's a heist.
Yeah, so this was of the 5 that came out this week. This was probably my least favorite. I have been enjoying the Han Solo and Chewbacca series so far, but I'm just exhausted of heist stories. I can't take them anymore. They're just all over the place. I was actually complaining yesterday about this to my wife Tori, about how I'm tired of heists. And then I got this new issue. Well, I had already purchased this new issue, but I didn't read it until this morning. And it's another heist. It's like, no more heists. So I think that immediately kind of tainted it for me. But then I also thought there were things about this issue that I just didn't buy within
Okay.
the Star Wars universe. I just didn't understand how certain things made sense. So it wasn't my favorite, this issue. But it is about Han and Chewie going to Coruscant and having to steal this urn, which they've already stolen before in earlier issues of this comic. But now it's in Grand Moff Tarkin's office in Coruscant. So slightly different heist this time for the same item.
And as you see, this is issue 8 that Mike's reviewing, that just recently came out. If you were a member of or are considering Marvel Unlimited, just so you know, within this series, they have currently made available issue #5, up through issue #5. So that's kind of where you would be as far as within the timeline of these issues. Next up, Mike, you've got Yoda #2.
Yeah, so this one falls in the middle somewhere in my rankings of this week's comics. It's by Kevin Scott, who's a really good writer too, and it's about Yoda. So there was a Obi-Wan series that came out earlier, a comic book series that came out earlier in the year, where he's it's old Obi-Wan in his hut on Tatooine, and he's kind of remembering adventures from his youth. But this is kind of a similar format, except it's Yoda on Dagobah in his exile, remembering this one extended adventure from earlier in his life. And the flashbacks actually take place during the High Republic era. And it's Yoda traveling to this planet that kind of requests aid from the Jedi Order to help them defend against these raiders, and he's decided to just basically live there for years and years. He just kind of stays on this planet and helps them defend against these attackers. And it's kind of interesting. What I was thinking was, like, Yoda is so long lived. You know, we know he lives to 900 years old. So he can kind of just take like 25 years, 35 years out of his life, and it's not that much total, percentage of his life that he used to help these people. But it is a fun story, and curious to see where that goes too.
And finally, within Mike's comic book recaps, we've got Star Wars: The High Republic #3.
Yeah, this is another one by Kevin Scott, who wrote the Yoda comic, and this is the second phase of the High Republic. Like I said, it's 150 years earlier than the first one, and this issue in particular is about this thief who lives on the planet Jeddah that was introduced in Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and we find out about his history. This is kind of like his backstory in this issue, and it turns out he's a former guardian of the will. And if you remember the characters of Chirrut Imwe and Baze Malbus from Rogue One, they were guardians of the wills, and the guardians of the wills are this group that protects the Temple of the Kyber on Jeddah, which is kind of like this holy site. And it's about why he left the guardians of the wills. And in the present day, so those are the flashbacks, and in the present day, he's helping trying to help these Jedi solve this mystery of why these ancient artifacts are being stolen from. Yeah, I saw that comment. I was thinking about, I keep thinking about this episode of Rick and Morty that is a parody of heist movies that came out probably 3 years ago now, but it's a very funny deconstruction of the heist movie and its tropes. So I would recommend going and watching that. I don't really have a favorite. I don't know. I'm just tired of heists.
Mike's burned out on the heist. If you want Mike Celestino to give your film, book, whatever, a positive review, do yourself a favor, skip the heist for now, because
I feel like I'm starting to feel like it's lazy. I start to feel like, oh, well, you need a story. A story needs to have a character want something, So what's something that they could want, and they have to go through a road of trials to get it. It's just like, it's like the most basic level of storytelling. I don't know.
And right now there's a sale. It's only available through, I want to say it's January 3rd. So you're coming up on the end of this offer over at Marvel Unlimited. That's where you can view comic books. It's like you pay this annual fee, and then you're able to access their massive library of Marvel and Star Wars comic books, because they're published under the Marvel Comics banner. So you would have access to things like 27 issues of Star Wars Bounty Hunters. There's 15 of the High Republic issues available over there. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series that came out earlier this year. They've got some of the War of the Bounty Hunters series there as well. Only 3 issues so far of the Mandalorian redos that were happening. So just to give you a bit of an idea of what's available as far as from within Star Wars, because they don't publish day and date. So you're waiting a little bit of time. Think of it like a theatrical release and then your home streaming. So that's kind of what's happening here, is you have your bookstore, your comic book store release, and then you can access it for free with the subscription fee within the app. And then I know over at Kindle, they have a similar Cosmixology offering. And then in some cases some of these are available day and date with the comic book store release, but at a percentage off the cover price. So be sure to also take a look if you're thinking about venturing into this arena, because as Mike said, it can add up very, very quickly.
Yeah. I also want to mention Dr. Aphra number
Oh,
27,
thank you. Sorry, Mike.
which came out yesterday too. I didn't have time to read it and review it yesterday, but I just finished it like an hour ago and put my review up on Laughing Place. And this one I do recommend. I have been enjoying Dr. Aphra recently. It is so it's a little bit more of an outside the box type story, something we really haven't seen before in Star Wars. But yeah, that one does go on my positive review list.
And jumping back on our actual list of items that Mike had given me that I skipped over a moment ago, we have some new Bad Batch
Yeah.
teasers and information.
So yeah, this is I think it's a short clip from the new season of Bad Batch, which starts next week, next Wednesday. You're going to get 2 episodes of season 2 of the Bad Batch. There's a new teaser and a new poster. I think a character poster of Omega.
Yeah, I'm bringing that up for you too.
Okay. Yeah, so
there you
that's
go.
I know you're excited for this season, right?
I think I am. I don't. It's been a little while,
Yeah.
so I think my enthusiasm has waned a bit.
Okay.
But I'm sure once it's here in my face again, I'll remember why I enjoyed it and looked forward to it week after week. It's a weird. It's a weird thing for me right now with these. So, but I'm excited. I don't know. I'm excited. What did this teaser make you more or less excited, Mike?
Well, I think this is a scene from the episodes I've already. Oh no, this is.
Oh, that's right. You have.
Oh yeah, I haven't actually watched this trailer, but
Oh, well,
okay.
there you go. Now you get
But
a
I have seen a few episodes of season 2, and I've enjoyed them. I think episode 3 of the new season is very interesting. I won't say much more about what it's about, but again, it's like a different approach, which I always like.
I enjoyed the scene with the Wookiees on these critters.
Okay, I have not seen that one yet.
So this caught my eye in that new teaser. So they're very large-eared. They're kind of like elephants, but with weird. They're like half elephant, half Kowakian monkey lizard.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of fun. So yeah, anytime you can have some new critters, I'm all for it. New droids, new critters. That's where Star Wars reaches my little heart. So I'm eagerly waiting.
Next couple months on Who's the Bossk is going to be all about the Bad Batch. So
stay tuned
for that.
Awesome. Speaking of hearts, we've got Valentine's Day. I know we just finished Christmas. Valentine's Day is already on the horizon, and Funko Pops have you covered. I know these are Mike's favorite thing in the universe. So well, there's Kylo, there's Rey, BB-8, and Leia, and they have adorable phrases on the base. Like Leia says, "Mike, you're my nerf herder." I think BB-8 says, "BB mine, will you BB mine?" Rey's is, "You're my ray of hope." And I want to say, I'm trying to remember. Oh, and Kylo Ren's is, "You're not alone." So kind of pulling from their own little story arcs within the Star Wars universe, you can share some Valentine's Day love Star Wars style thanks to Funko.
Okay. Yeah, I remember when I wrote that very cynical post about like St. Patrick's Day. There was like St. Patrick's Day merch.
Yep.
For Star Wars, I was like, these two things have nothing to do with each other. I guess because love exists in the Star Wars universe, at least there's that connection. But still, it's an earthly holiday that doesn't exist in Star Wars. I don't really get these. And
okay. I see this market on two sides. I see it as somebody like you who has a deep Star Wars passion.
Yeah.
Providing a Valentine within the universe that you adore. Or on the flip side, Tori knows that you're this Star Wars loving person. And so Tori says, "Oh, well, this is a sweet way to express my Valentine's Day affection within that universe obsession." So,
I think I would say Tori knows my tastes well enough to not get this for me.
So maybe this is for the casual, the newly developing relationship. Like, when you
casual Star Wars fans probably, yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying like if let's say that you're kind of in a new romance, And so
Right.
you're wanting to express Valentine's Day, and you know
Sure.
they like Star Wars. Like, with this, so as a like a deep, passionate Star Wars fan, would this have been like oh, they don't get me? This would have been like Tori would have
No,
been so
yeah, I could see in
bored
the
if they
beginning of
did it
the
to you.
relationship, yeah, I could see that. I could understand it a little bit better, yeah.
But would it have given Tori more to overcome if you'd have received one of these early on? Would you have been like, oh no, I don't think this is gonna work. She's giving me BB-8 Valentines. Ew.
No, I think it would be the thought would be appreciated.
Okay, see, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Because my husband would love these. He would be beyond pleased if I gave him pink BB-8. Forget the Valentine, just pink. My husband's all about the cotton candy and bubblegum pink. So he wants to live in a Barbie world. Um, let's see. Glass.
I am genuinely excited for the Barbie movie though, so maybe I don't make a lot of sense.
Oh, over the holiday, I was among the many who saw the Netflix movie Glass Onion. I know you were too, Mike, and you found a nice little surprise as you were watching.
Yeah, so this is a series of murder mysteries written and directed by Rian Johnson, who made Star Wars: The Last Jedi, of course. And there's a shot of Dave Bautista plays this character who they establish as kind of a former geek, and now he's kind of a bodybuilder. But there's a shot of his like clenched fist at a certain point in the movie there, and I immediately, first of all, you can see the Superman logo is there on his middle finger, but I immediately recognized that insignia on his forefinger. I did have to confirm what it was exactly because I knew I'd seen it a bunch before. I wasn't sure exactly what it was, but it is the insignia for the Sith Empire in the Old
Ooh.
Republic era of Star Wars. So I remember having read an interview with Rian Johnson where he talked about the Knights of the Old Republic video games and how he had played and enjoyed those. So I'm thinking that was his little nod to that game series, and it's cool to see a Star Wars reference in a Rian Johnson movie that I enjoyed.
No, okay. So not even a Star Wars Easter egg, but like a deep dive. That's
Yeah.
really showing off his Star Wars geek with that pull.
Yep.
Um, and continuing a little bit more within Lucasfilm and things you might be streaming. Episode 6 of Willow has happened. I have not seen it yet.
Okay.
What did you think? Should I put it at the top of my must-watch list for the week, or kind of get to it when I get to it?
So I said last week that episode was too goofy for me, and unfortunately that trend kind of continued into this week's episode. You know, they had set up these trolls, the trolls that appear in the original film, as being kind of a threat, a villain in the series, and they popped up as a cliffhanger in the end of the last week episode. And then I'll say that I was disappointed about how those characters, the trolls, were handled in the new episode that came out this week. But we do get Christian Slater as a new character named Allagash, and he's pretty fun. He's a fun character to spend time with, so I would recommend it on that level. But overall, I thought it was better than last week's, but it still didn't work for me.
Well, I'm eager to give it a try because last week was bizarre, and I thought it was because I have not seen the original, and so I thought perhaps I was missing out. But I have the impression from others that it was not, like you say, it's a bit on the goofy, a little too goofy, a little too disconnected. So I'm interested to see if how this episode grabs me, especially knowing it didn't work for you per se. So,
but there's still 2 left. I'm still holding out hope that they get their footing again, get back to return to form kind of thing. Great Hard Rain and 90s Heist. I remember Hard Rain. I don't think I ever saw that.
Doobie's just gonna troll you with heist titles for the rest of the rest of the show. So let's see, Mike. We're beginning to wrap up, and that means that we get to talk about what's coming in 2023. All the different things that Mike Celestino knows is on his plate to keep us
Yeah.
informed of throughout the next year. So I'm going to let you talk about it, and I'll share some images as
Okay.
you let us know what's happening.
Yeah, so I went through and just kind of made a list of everything coming, not only from Star Wars, but Lucasfilm in general coming in the next year. Obviously, there's a bunch more High Republic stuff. That seems to be the most frequent releases we're getting from Lucasfilm Publishing these days. So I don't think we have to list all of that. But, I'm enjoying the High Republic on the whole. There have been some misses, but for the most part, I did think it's been pretty good. We'll get the Bad Batch, like we mentioned, is the first Star Wars TV content coming.
Oops.
Mm-hmm.
I'm clicking on the wrong images as you talk. Let me see if I can find Bad Batch. Keep going,
Okay.
Mike.
Well, to answer Doobie's question in the comments, he wants me to predict when we'll see another theatrical Star Wars movie, and I think they'll keep that date that they have staked out of Christmas 2025. I think December 2025 is a likely bet for the next Star Wars movie. Will it be a heist? I kind of hope not. I said in my review, I'm kind of glad that in that Han Solo comic review, I said that I'm kind of glad they didn't end up making more Solo movies, because they would have all been heists. It's just enough with the heists already. Anyway, Bad Batch, January. Willow finale, of course, coming up in a couple weeks. There's a new comic book about Sana Starros, who's an original character they created for the comics. Let's see, Mandalorian. That's the big one that I'm looking forward to, and I know a lot of other people are looking forward to. Mandalorian season 3. Any hopes or expectations for this one?
I am super excited. I love Katie Sackhoff, so I'm very excited about the return of her to my screen more regularly with this series. As I recall, Babu Frick, right? Aren't we anticipating?
Yeah.
Babu being in this as well. So yeah, I'm awaiting more Mandalorian. How about you?
Very excited. Yeah, this is definitely at the top of my list. So I think they've been very good about keeping things fresh with the Mandalorian, I think, and surprising us. I know that they've said they have some surprises up their sleeve that haven't been leaked or anything yet. So let's hope that sticks. There's Babu. Mando robs a bank. I'm sure there'll be at least one heist episode in this Mandalorian season.
And Doobie's prediction: Mandalorian season 3 will feature more Boba Fett.
I honestly, I was thinking about that too, and I honestly think it will be, turnabout is fair play, and I think it would be great, and I think people will get a kick out of it if 2 episodes of Mando season 3 they just go back and spend time with Boba Fett and Fennec Shand on Tatooine. I honestly, who could complain about that? No, I don't think anyone would complain. Well, everybody finds a reason to complain.
Oh yeah.
But
by the way, Gio's throwing in his hope that it'll happen on an ocean planet this fest. So we'll have Oceans 66.
I love it. That's great.
So there we go. As far as Boba Fett, I will say that even though Book of Boba Fett started off so strong for me, the introduction of the Sand People and everything, and then it kind of faded. The reintroduction into my life of Tamura Morrison was like such a breath of fresh air. So I'm really hopeful that we will get to experience more of his portrayal of Boba Fett, and I'd like to see it in a more bold, little less caretaker role that he seemed to kind of have a lot of in the Book of Boba. I want to see much more of that bounty hunter, mold from him. So so we'll see. Maybe Mandalorian season 3 will let us see him kind of rise to that.
Well, they kind of implied when they announced all this stuff a couple years ago that all these series would be interacting with each other, and I think that's a good way to do it. And eventually, I think I've said this before, but just combine them all and just call it Star Wars. It doesn't have to be people going in to expect one thing and then they're angry when it's something else. As long as it's Star Wars and set in that universe, you can play around with any and all of those characters. So I hope there's more of that stuff happening. Anyway, there's a video game called Star Wars Hunters that got delayed a couple times is finally coming out. This is like a mobile type game, but I know it's also coming to Switch. But it's a multiplayer thing, which I don't really get into. So that's not really on my radar too much. But the next one is, first of all, we're getting a novel called Jedi Battle Scars.
Oh, I'm sorry. There you go.
Sure. This is set between the events of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Star Wars Jedi Survivor, kind of setting up the second game in the series. But then, yeah, Jedi Survivor will come out, I believe, in the spring, or I think we're expecting it in the spring. And super excited for this. Really like the first game quite a bit, and I'm expecting this one to have even more cool stuff going on. The trailers have been really good, and they're advancing the timeline 5 years. And I'm guessing this will be a trilogy. They haven't really confirmed that, but it seems likely based on Star Wars history that we get 3 games out of that series. We're getting more Star Wars Visions from Disney Plus. The cool thing about this second batch of episodes from Visions is it's not only Japanese anime, they're expanding it to animation studios from all around the world, which I just found out recently. So it's going to have a wide variety of people contributing to it, and I'm very excited to check that out. And the cool thing about Visions is it's not beholden to the Star Wars canon. They can kind of play around with the universe and the iconography and not have to worry about affecting the ongoing story. The Young Jedi Adventures is an animated series for kids coming to Disney Plus, and that is set during the High Republic era. Again, I'm not the target audience for this, but I will watch and check it out and review it with the keeping in mind who the demographic is.
And I think they've been doing a great job with their Star Wars Kids content, whether it was those various ones featuring critters from the Star Wars universe, or we had some of the mindfulness exercises with Ashley. So really, really cool focused content for kids, especially now that we're seeing, and to me, we're seeing Star Wars itself kind of branch a little bit older as far as kind of the thematics and the imagery. It's nice to see that specific focus there on the younger set.
Yeah, I definitely think there's room for content of, aimed at all sorts of different age groups. And I know that Lucasfilm and Disney definitely want to keep the younger generations interested in Star Wars. There's always that danger of, it's only going to be the established fans. You're not going to get anybody new on board. So I hope that this goes a long way in continuing the tradition of kids being into Star Wars. But after that, there's, let's see. New comic book series from Marvel. This is going to be a series of one-shots, actually. So just like single issues about characters and locations from Return of the Jedi in celebration of that movie's 40th anniversary. So the first one is called Star Wars Jabba's Palace. And I think that's coming out like at the end of March. And of course, the High Republic, like I said, is continuing with a bunch of different releases. And then definitely looking forward to Star Wars Celebration in London this year. My first time going to London ever. And also, of course, there for the convention and everything that will be happening around that.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Dude.
That's mid-April.
Yeah. Oh, Mike, 2023 is going to be a busy year for you. I see there's also Kevin Scott novels.
Yeah, more High Republic stuff. And then, of course, something else really big we haven't talked about yet, Ahsoka.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Ahsoka.
So this is a spinoff of The Mandalorian. And it's like we mentioned earlier. We did kind of talk about this when we talked about Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to connect a lot to Star Wars Rebels, so that should be pretty exciting. From outside of the Star Wars universe, but also from Lucasfilm, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I think we're both excited for this one.
Yes, I am. I am hesitant, a little hesitant, but excited.
It's kind of hesitant is a good word, but I'm cautiously optimistic. You know, it kind of brings in a fresh perspective with James Mangold as the writer and director. And you can tell from his passion that he's expressed on social media that he's definitely a fan and wants to do the franchise justice and the character justice. So I'm expecting good things. I'm hoping for good things, I think. There's another novel called Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade. Do you have an image for that one?
Oh yeah.
So this is all about the Inquisitors that were introduced in Rebels, and we've seen more of them in the comics and in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. But this is about another Inquisitor character that we'll learn more about in the novel by Delilah S. Dawson. That should be interesting. And let's see, more High Republic. And then lastly, the big other live action series coming to Disney Plus, I think before the end of next year, is going to be Skeleton Crew. And what we know about this so far is from the team that made the Spider-Man trilogy, the recent Spider-Man trilogy for Marvel Studios, John Watts, and one of his producers whose name is escaping me. Okay. But it is inspired by the Amblin adventure movies from the mid 80s. So stuff like the Goonies, which I grew up on and love. So I'm guessing this is going to be right up my alley. We know that it stars Jude Law as the adult character among a group of younger actors, like newcomers. So very intrigued by this idea. I think it could be one of those things that's kind of flying low on the radar right now for a lot of people, but might really surprise us, kind of like Andor did.
I was going to say like Andor, because I feel like that was one of those things where it kind of snuck up on all of us as far as how much we enjoyed it.
Yeah. But that's coming. That's all the stuff coming that we know of right now. I'm sure we'll learn more at Celebration in April, get more details and dates and stuff like that. But for now, that's the calendar. Looking forward over the next year for me and for everybody who's interested.
Fantastic. Well, as we wrap up, Mike, I want to share with you something that I stumbled on in my photos while I was prepping for this. And if you have an Amazon gift card burning a hole in your pocket, this is perfectly ridiculous and delightful. Check it out. It's a thumb wrestling book where you attach little lightsabers to your thumbs, and then you can have little thumb wrestling Force Wars. It's an old title, so you know it's mostly available through like a secondhand. But no, it just cracked me up, and I wanted to share it as we wrap up 2022. Crazy, Mike, how fun it is to be a Star Wars fan right now. I was thinking about that, just the amount of content we have. I remember the days of waiting eagerly for those EU novels.
Yeah.
And now you can't even keep up.
It's super overwhelming. And like I said, I am doing this mostly during my work hours, you know. And in my free time, I've been trying to catch up on the Legends stuff that I've never read. So it's a lot of Star Wars, and it's tough to keep up on all of it, but I am trying my best. And follow along at laughingplace.com as always. And Who's the Bossk? The podcast will be back next week, Friday next week. So
awesome. Well, thanks as always for keeping us up to date, Mike. I know you do a great job of keeping us informed on what's happening within the world of Star Wars. Appreciate your authentic point of view as well. You're not totally just always rah. You'll let us know when it lets you down from time to time. You know.
Well, I don't know. I feel like there are people who I admire who always give positive reviews, and I'm just like, well, if you're always positive, I don't know when to believe you. You know, when to like I don't know. I just like I like honesty. I will tell people if I didn't like something.
Yeah, I tend to fall into that. If I'm not talking about it, chances are I didn't like it. You're not necessarily going to hear me give a negative review as much as you're going to. It's like read between the lines, hear what I'm not saying, and then you'll know what how I feel about something. I don't know. I have a hard time just kind of harping, but you know, everybody has their way of sharing their love of Star Wars and what others create and and everything. But we at Laughing Place are thankful very, very much for you tuning in and supporting us here. And we look forward to hearing from all of you in the new year. Later today on this very YouTube, we were going to have Drafting Place, where 4 of the LP crew are going to draft their greatest all-stars from the various products produced from Disney Media. So you're going to have representatives from Hulu, from Disney Plus, from network and cable, as in essence. That's what we've called the ABC area. And they're going to each be able to draft from those regions to come up with their media all-stars for 2022. So be sure and check that out. I'm sure it'll be lots of fun because it's Mike, Mac, and Kyle, and Doobie, and Ben. It'll be craziness. And somehow I'm going to try and keep them all focused, but we'll see. And then on Saturday night, don't forget to come back for Disney Trivia Live as we bring you into the new year with some Disney trivia fun. So East Coast time frame, because we start at 7:30, so we'll carry you into the new year. So thanks very much for joining us. We will see you all in the new year.
2023, the year of the heist.